Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Metaworld News, where it is the 12th of February of the grand old year 2017. And if you're watching us live, it is roughly, what is it? It's sort of noon Pacific, causing a great deal of confusion in the UK here this week because you Americans have just gone and put your clocks forward, and we don't do that in the rest of the world for another 3 weeks. So this is going to be fun for a little while. Yeah, just when we settle in, it'd be back to normal. Anyway, this is the show where we bring you latest news headlines about social virtual worlds, the metaverse as we call it, and open simulator, the hypergrid, things like that. Worlds where the living worlds where users actually participate. A little bit of virtual reality news as well. And you can follow my links on Twitter at twitter.com /Malburns. That's MALBURNS, all one word. And there is a little bit about VR there too. And I'm just going to start today's roundup with the basics from that particular stream, the VR news headlines, as I'm calling it. A company called Bellevue is a startup, and there's a report on them at the Tech Spotlight at seattletimes.com. That's Seattle, the American city, Times, but all one word, seattletimes.com. Bellevue startup sees contact lenses replacing bulky VR headsets. And about time too is all I can say. I mean, I'll probably prefer glasses myself, but basically the idea is that they're going to manufacture contact lenses that will do everything your motorcycle helmet, virtual reality headset does at the moment. Indeed. Exploring the potential of virtual reality at the Royal Academy of Arts, that's here in the UK here. And they've started an exhibition here called Virtually Real. It's a collaborative pop-up project. And you can find out more about that at a site called widewalls.ch. So that's wide walls, or one word, wide as in broad, walls as in things rooms have, widewalls.ch. Okay, not sure, unusual suffix that, but never mind, .ch, widewalls.ch. The sky is the limit, literally. Improved spectrum required for an optimal virtual world. If you're interested in the optics and everything else for virtual reality displays and stuff, that's supposed to virtuality-news.net. And Roblin VR had his normal VR news review up on Monday. You'll find that at YouTube. And my betting is that the moment we're off air here, there'll probably be this week's edition up too. So look for Roblin VR or simply VR review news. And right, let's move backwards here, which is what I'm doing on my iPad as we're talking. How to design for virtual reality. Well, somebody's thoughts about how to design for virtual reality. If you're interested in designing for VR, go to a website called Backchannel. Yes, and they start they start with the Nintendo Virtual Boy in 1995 and move forward to all sorts of other things. Designing for VR, immersive design, in other words. Applications for architects: instantly convert, share, and visualize any SketchUp or Revit model. This is opposed to a site called Architizer, and I'm going to have to spell that one because I sure can't pronounce it really. Architizer, article by Paul Keskes. And Speak 3D is the slogan of Qubite, Kubite, the first smart viewer that allows users to share SketchUp and Revit models devices via the web, a desktop app or a mobile app. And this is particularly relevant for any virtual world, really, because you can actually get a lot of 3D components from places like SketchUp and Revit and Google Warehouse, what have you. SketchUp is indeed very popular. So this is actually an exchange mechanism. You know, it's like an app for exchanging 3D models. What you do with them and what format you use them in is up to you, of course. But you can pan soon spin around the structure and have a good look at it while you're sharing it. You can load them with a dedicated QR code, and the app works on the iPhone, the iPad, or any Android device, as well as the desktop. So check out Architizer for that, or you can even look up Qubity, Kubity. Virtuality-news.net again. Survey highlights concerns over potential illegal actions in VR. Basically, a large majority of British people want to see more restrictions on the use of VR to make sure people aren't performing in virtual reality acts that would actually be illegal in real life. Now, legislation covers that already. But the implementation of the legislation is probably more the issue there. Forbes magazine have an article on Scotland VR, again in Britain, albeit Scotland. The Scotland VR app lets travellers try before they buy on iconic Scottish holiday locations. And this is it's on iOS and it's on Android too. And it allows you to plan a family trip to Scotland by actually touring Scotland in virtual reality, as it were, or the key locations, I should say, and there are quite a lot of them in virtual reality before you go. Also on YouTube, Linden Lab have actually posted Samsar Created Reality as its new subtitle. This was a promo for Samsar 4 days ago, and it was more of an advert than a sneak preview, even though it's not available to the public yet. It's in open beta. They're clearly building up to something there. And there were a few shots and things that told us a little bit more about it, a little bit more about it, the emphasis being on little. Linden Labs VR World Samsar reminds me of Oasis from Ready Player One. This is an article about the same thing at virtuality-news.net. Virtualrealitypop.com, new site to me, this one, but an article, why I dropped everything for VR. Basically, somebody's saying, how they discovered VR and gave up many of their other business interests in order to focus on the developing platform. So interesting bit of how should we say, evangelism there. Mozilla being the makers of Thunderbird and Firefox, the web browsers, are bringing modern video games to your browser. This is a post, you'll find it at a site called Engadget, Engadget. And basically, the idea is to bring better and better video games and obviously by extension virtual worlds into your actual browser, not necessarily just the Firefox browser, but others too, connecting with WebVR and various other things, I should say. Can virtual reality make the world a better place? And the answer is yes, apparently, if it's grounded in good. Strictly an opinion piece here, really, from a site called filterdigital.com. That's filter as in coffee filter, digital as in everything, but all one word, filterdigital.com. And LA Weekly, that will be Los Angeles Weekly, I suspect, laweekly.com has a report, can an interactive VR experience about a grieving man teach empathy? This is an interesting VR experiment. Basically, you interact with somebody who's grieving, and it kind of measures your empathy, really. At the moment, it's you can see a demo for interactive film called Hue, which actually ties in with the project. So HUE is the name of the film demo. Experiential poems exploring emotions and embodied vulnerability in VR with Kabibo. This is a post that our friends at road2vr.com. That's road to the word to VR, the letters, all one word, road2vr.com. Kent By writing here. Using language to translate an experience into words is one of the highest levels of abstraction humans know. etc., and with a focus on visual poetry, obviously. Will your next operating system be a game engine? Well, when we have our virtual world homes actually on our desktop and teleport out of them to the greater web or the greater online worlds, then it will be an operating system, hopefully. And this article looks all about that. And uh, software engines that could be used on the desktop, like the Unreal Engine. The article is at Extreme Tech. That's two words, Extreme Tech. You'll have to Google that because it's my post doesn't. My Twitter post will have a direct link, but I don't. Tough. Right. A full list of virtual reality worlds is available at virtualrealitytimes.com. This is virtual reality times, written as all one word, the full words. Virtualrealitytimes.com, a full list of virtual reality worlds. I have to add to that I don't consider it to be a full list, but it is a good list. And deepening social presence with SMI eye tracking. Another post at roadtovr.com, although in fact, this is simply an article that goes to the Voices of VR podcasts from in the week. Learn languages in VR, our first take. This is a post you'll find at Digital Trends. Again, this is two words. You're probably better to Google it. And this is basically an app called Mondly Languages, and it has one function only. You load the app and you interact with people in the virtual world who will be speaking in a different language. And the app includes ways of going slowly, going fast, learning things, and the sort of stuff that language teaching does. But apparently, they believe it's much more effective because it's just simply quicker than reading textbooks and going through the old-fashioned exercise. Keystone Bouchard at Arc Virtual have created real-life success in the nearly boundless field of virtuality. An article on him at host.madison.com. And the legal reality of virtuality. This is an article at Forbes yesterday. And it actually discusses everything from ownership, IP rights in VR material and stuff like that. It's really a roundup of real world legal issues that need to be taken into account in terms of virtuality. And then finally, from the greater VR news, so to speak, a site called hackaday.com. That's HACKADAY.com. And today's post was take a bicycle tour anywhere in the world. And indeed, in fact, I'm actually going to open this now because I think this will be great fun. You could obviously have an exercise bike and an Oculus headset or something similar. In fact, you do need a headset at the moment, but the app you need is simply called Cycle VR. That's CYCLE and then VR. All one word, but VR is in capital letters, of course, as it's the C at the beginning. Now, they haven't quite made an inter-country leap, but one of the chaps involved here has cycled the entire length of the UK from the southern to the northernmost point here, which isn't as far as across America, but it's a fair distance. And basically, Cycle VR is designed to extend this. Imagine yourself riding through the countryside of Tuscany in the morning and popping over to Champagne for a tour in the evening without even taking a plane ride. So, the very interesting thing about this is that it actually merges the virtuality environment, but it's all done, with photo VR, and it uses Google Street View, Google Maps, and various other systems to actually import all the content that is converted live into VR. So I think the idea is that ultimately you can just choose a place on the map and go there, and it will grab everything from Google Maps, Google Earth, and everything else it can find to render the environment for you, and then you can go cycling around it. So I thought that was quite exciting, and if I ever get an exercise bike, it's the sort of thing that maybe I should, being on it, would I'm more likely to stay on it, if you see what I mean.
Oh,
If
I
I'm going
do.
on
I do.
on a real world adventure,
Yeah, I have
if
an elliptical machine. Are you familiar with that? So it's you know, you're kind of like you're it's almost like you're swimming, the leg movement. And I've often wondered if I put on a helmet while doing that. But it's a strange movement for locomotion. It's not appropriate, is what I'm saying. So it'd be strange.
yeah. Funny old world.
Yep.
Anyway, that's it for my feed at Twitter. Now, we have another feed for this program at twitter.com/ Metaworld News. And it basically focused more on social worlds and the hypergrid. There aren't too many links there yet, but it is growing, including replays of this program and our other companion program, our Talk Show, the In-World Review, which follows this. Basically, just a few from Hypergrid Business, courtesy of Maria this week. Her partner David Kariuki wrote an article about educators opening a free resource shop on OS Grid. And Maria wrote about Avi Worlds. The famous Avi Worlds has now closed for its 10th time. We will no doubt be watching for an 11th resurgence or resurrection or whatever. But anyway, version 10 has now completed its cycle. And interestingly, Maria points out that it managed to shut down without a loud scandal. In fact, barely a whisper, but it's gone. And some sad news, although maybe inevitable, Avination, a very significant OpenSim grid, has officially shut down too. We will be able to tell you more about that shortly, because at midday we'll be on air again with the In-World Review, and Melanie Milland from Avination will be with us then. But of course, Melanie is also one of the major OpenSim developers too, so we'll be talking about quite a lot, including the closing of that grid. For links on those three things I've actually mentioned, you simply need to go to hypergridbusiness.com. That will be a familiar address for our regular viewers, I'm quite sure. Right, a couple of others that are via the Google Plus thing. Obviously, non-profit commons in Second Life, yeah, they... Oh, well, never mind. This is really just a post by Rhiannon or about VWPPE, which is coming up at the end of the month. There's a couple of nice videos, one from DigiWorlds and another from the Metaverse Libraries, the VCARA Colloquium series. And it's a recording of one that took place on February 28th. Nice to see that up there. And yep, that's about it for this week's news, so to speak. I'm sure there is more, but we don't have it for you. But we do have James Outloud, who turns up at the developer meetings for the OpenSim community, at least most weeks. And any news from there, James?
Well, yes, Mel. You know, this is the open office hours, where developers and users can come together and meet on the Wright Plaza on the OS Grid. And basically, users can interface directly with developers that show up. And so it's open to anybody. The notes are posted public on the opensimulator.org website. And so I just like to give a little roundup. Just following the development of Open Simulator is really my largest interest, and of course the things that we can do with it. But last week on Tuesday, there was a good group there. A good number of people showed up, and one of the people was really digging into some of the code. There's something that makes scripts listen to communication in the world. It's called a listening script, and
All right.
they were noticing something about a point where the listener manager code can become overwhelmed. And so there was someone who was working with a lot of small objects being scripted, and so that was kind of an interesting discussion. And so I think the most interesting thing was that the problem was on Open Simulator, but it was not on the in-worlds grid. And so just an aspect of how the forks in Open Simulator are becoming, I think, more and more distant. There were no commits to the code, and again, this is because of there's a permissions review that's underway with the developers. And I asked what that meant, And so really what the components of that are to look at the object permissions is firstly comparing what Open Simulator is doing to the Second Life model of,
Yeah.
of how permissions are structured. And that really they're just very basic checks that they're hoping to accomplish, which is when sharing an object, do the permissions change? When you res an object, do permissions change? Do permissions stick when you change them in inventory and things like that? And I think they're
Right.
just looking for enough people to participate in doing these tests to confirm the permissions model in version 9.1. So this is version 0.091 of Open
Right.
Simulator code that that people are testing. And so, if anyone is interested in contributing to those tests, I think that would definitely be useful. And
Okay.
that's my summary.
Okay, wonderful. Well,
Yep,
still good to know they're on the job and the floor's not going to fall out from under us.
that's right.
Basically, indeed.
And
Okay.
for volunteers, that's really awesome. That's great.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Right, well, that's it for this week's actual news. If you're watching us live, do bear in mind we'll be going live again in about 40 minutes' time with our regular sort of open-ended talk show, the In-World Review, where we'll be joined by Melanie Milland from and Avination, or the former Avination. And we'll also be joined by Tiana Ju from Power of Green, and we'll be talking about ecology, both in the virtual world, their region, but also the real world too. So should be fun. So do join us then if you can. Otherwise, until next week, when we'll be back with another bulletin, is goodbye, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Goodbye.